years as serving delikajele, reflecting the permanence of incarceration. So one parole board member explained as follows, and you remember the nature of the buildings of prison, the way they were built with stone. So it was built in such a way, it has a very high state of endurance. So it will never crumble. So you will crumble inside that prison. Prison will never crumble, so that's why they used to say dilikajele. Another recalled its use in relation
Service Parole and Reintegration Conference. Asibona ke khona phana imfanekiso abantu ke ebezibexoxisana ke abantu bomphakathi besitsho imbono yabo ehlanganisela ke ukuthakazelela lokuzwisisa ke iparole, kodwa abanye ngana bakayizwisisi ukuthi hamba njani, abanye ngabesabaya, abanye bedinga ke ulwazi. Ngilaye ke usiphathamandla uAssistant Commissioner Alois Sibanda obona ke ngeze corrections or city administration ejelo zama ukuthi aphendule imbuzo yenu. Nthemba lizasizakala. Ababa Sibanda livuka njani?
Hayi siyavuka. Livuka njani la?
Sivukile. Kade sikhangela imfanekiso lapha sibona sonke abanye batshengisa ukuzwisisa ubana ke iparole nguyini, kodwa kukhona ke ingxenye yabantu abangakuzwisisiyo ukuthi uhamba njani. Ufuna ke siqala ke lona lelu hlelo ke singakaphenduli imbuzo abalayo. Ufuna ungachasisela ke abalalela ukubana ke iparole into enjani iza benefita obani injongo yayo kumbe inhloso yeparole ngiyani?
Ngiyabonga. Iparole luhlelo oluqhakathekileyo kakhulu kusigaba seZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service. Njalo thina silubona luqhakathekile la kuZulu kunye la kuzibotshwa zethu ezizwe zadala amacala zavalelwa. Ukuvalelwa lokhu kutsho ukuthi umuntu uyabevumile ukuthi ulecala. Ngokunjalo ephakathi khona ngale lathi siyabe sibancedisa ukuthi bazinuke amakhwapha esingathi sithi rehabilitation. Rehabilitation ayikho ekubafundiseni imisebenzi kuphela, ekuzinceda nxa sebephuma amajele hatshi. Ilakho futhi ukuthi sithi thina izibotshwa sizibona njengezigulane ezifuna ukuncedwa ngokusizwa ukuthi baguqule ingqondo. Ngokunjalo irehabilitation yethu ikabili esikuthi thina we empower izibotshwa ngani ngemisebenzi yokufundela imisebenzi bephakathi emajele ukuthi banelise ukuyazisiza ngokuzisebenzela besebenzela lemuli zabo nxa sebephumile. Kube lelinye ibandla le rehabilitation esilithi thina lilokwenza lokwelapha ingqondo sezibotshwa, indlela abacabanga ngayo ukuthi bachiyane lamacala. Ngokunjalo ukuhlala siyabe sikwenza lezibotshwa lezi siyabe sizincedisa sibona ukuthi ayilo seguqukile njalo sikhangela kuyala ngamacala akhona. So kulolu hlelo leparole esingapha ngalo namhlanje ayisiwo wonke amacala abalamacala wonke abazakwana njalo akuphongukwanwa nje kulokudingeka ukuthi umuntu aqale achove kumbe ngathi apike isigwebo secala lakhe esiphezulu kwehalf yikho ukuthi aqualify. Njalo akusikho ukuthi bonke ababe sebepike izigwebo ezingaphezulu kwehalf yemtongo wababe uphiwe emadale kubo magistrate ngale bayakwana. Kulamacala sikhangela kulamanye amacala akhanyayo ukuthi hayi umuntu lo uyingozi emphakathini. Abanjalo siyabe sikhangelela ukuthi bapike izigwebo zabo base baqede zona ezabaziphiwa emadale. Kodwa kulabanye siyabe sibona ukuthi thina amacala abo yilawa esiwathi ngamancane njalo angela dlawangudlawangu phakathi. Yibo esibakhangelayo sibona ukuthi abangabe bequalify yibaphi, yibo abaza benefita. Ngokunjalo futhi abantu bonabo bekuparole bephandle khona ngale besemphakathini asiphonga ubakhipha kuphela, siqala sibancedise njalo sibahlanganise lezihlobo phandle. Bephandle khona ngale sizabe lonke sisebenza lomphakathi ubone ukuthi abantu laba baziphatha njani singabona kutshengisa ukuthi umuntu kukhona okungahambi kuhle ngaye, abanjalo bazaphanga bephendukiswe emajele bezoqedisela izigwebo zabo ngaphakathi. So sizabe sisebenza lo mphakathi, sizabe sisebenza lo Zulu ukubona ukuthi umuntu uyatshengisa ukuthi useguqukile izenzo zakhe, usekwanisa ukuhlala labanye, njalo uyalandela umthetho. So limqotho sibilele ukuthi uZulu olokungaphathiseki kokuthi mhlawumbe abantu abazaphuma ngeparole sebengayadala amacala, sebengayakwenza okuningi okungekho emthethweni okuphambanisa inhlalakahle kaZulu. Hayi, iZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service siyalithembisa ukuthi yena umuntu kangeke umthembe, kodwa sicubungilile sibili okuzwayo, sabona ukuthi abakwanayo kulolu hlelo ngabantu abadisevayo, ngithi abafaneleyo ukuthi baphume, esibabonayo ukuthi hayi sebethembeka. Kodwa kuza kudingeka futhi ukuthi la kuZulu asomsebenzi wabantu basemajele kuphela lo ukuncedisana labantu laba nxa bephandle. uZulu kabamukele asebenze la, bahlalisane labo abantu laba, bebaqondisa, bebeluleka ukuthi hayi asisebenzeni ndawonye, sisebenzele imuli. Okudala icala akula muntu ongaphambanisiyo, ladala amacala sokwedlula kathesi, sokumele sinjani siye phambili ngempilo, sigcinane izihlobo labantwana.
Asibonge baba Sibanda ingcazelo khona phana ukubana ke iparole ngikuyini njalo kuyabe ukuhamba njani kakhulu ekubani mbani oza benefita, ngoba besibona ukuthi imibuzo eminingi khona phana ibisekutheni ke wonke umuntu uzaphuma yini, usocacisile ke khona phana. Baba Sibanda siqhubekela phambili ke khona phana ngemfanekiso ekade siyibona kumbe imbono ekade ichiwo ke ngumphakathi khona phana. Thina ke njenge Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service umsebenzi wethu is to incarcerate, ukuthi uthi kuvalela ngitsho bese sirehabilitate esesikwenzile khonapha. Abakhona ke ababukisayo khonapha izivotsho ezivukisa imisebenzi yabo eyezandla echiyeneyo. Okunye kwesithathu anje is to reintegrate the offender back into society, anje okubabisela kakhulu ke emphakathini lapha abavela khona. Umsebenzi lo oweparole esikhangelane lawo, umphakathi uza benefita njani for iparole khona phana? Sikhulumela ukuthi yeye isibotshwa number 1 ukubenefita angitsho, but umphakathi sikhangele khona phana kulomunye umlaleli khona phana ade simkhangele lapho okade ekhuluma ukuthi uhulumende umthwalo sungani usuzaphumuka ngoba abaningi abasemajele kwesinye isikhathi amanye amacala amancane ukuthi engaphuma yeye engapanitshele ngaphandle. Okunye okungabenefit iparole umphakathi ikuphi? Bazacabanga ukuthi maybe iparole benefita izibotshwa zodwa kuphela.
Iparole iza benefita umphakathi, hayi izibotshwa kuphela. Ngitsho njalo ngokuba izibotshwa nxa zisemajele njengoba ngitshilo siyaba empower. Ukuba empower ikubafundisa imisebenzi ikakhulu yezandla. Asipheleli khonapho kuphela, lasesikolo abanye bayenza sibile ama-professional programs, bephume sebengama-accountant bephakathi, abanye bephume sebelezicoco zama-degree nama-diploma. Sikhangelele ukuthi ekuphumeni kwabo abantu bonaba nxa sebephandle ngabantu asebengaqala amakhampani, ngabantu asebengasebenza kumakhampani, ngabantu asebelosizo ezigabeni abavela kuzo, ngathi kuma-communities. Sikhangelele ukuthi ngokusapotwa nguZulu, bekusapoteni ngumphakathi kwalaba abantu, bazanelisa labo ukuthi bebe ngabantu abaloncedo ku-community. Ngathi isibonelo, abantu laba baye befundele lobo kulungisa ifurniture esingathi icarpentry, ukulungisa izimota. Nxa sebephandle ngale babe sebengomakanika belungisa izimota zabantu, belungisa le furniture. Kuthi ukuthi babe sebe contributor ku-economy yelizwe, bencedisa sebengacreate lemsebenzi ngoba nxa umuntu evula i-carpentry shop kumbe siba ngumakanika yaba lo assistant wakhe assistant lwana uyafundela la umsebenzi wokuba ngumakanika nxa ethengisa ifurniture yakhe ifurniture liyana iyanceda i-economy uyabe bhadala i-tax ngokunjalo njalo kuletha intuthuko ezigabeni ukuvulwa kwamabhizinesi osokungenziwa yilaba ababe bevele emajele ababe bephandle ngohlelo le-parole so kuqakathekile ngokunjalo futhi ukuthi abantu bonaba sebezakwanisa ukusiza imuli zabo ukusebenzela imuli zabo behambisa abantwana babo esikolo ukuhamba kwabantwana esikolo kuhle elizweni lonke jikelele ngoba kusasa bazaba iziphathamandla kwelethu ilizwe loneli umuntu sengaba nguminister yena kade ngumntwana wesibotsho kuqakathekile khonokho ukuthi bagcine imuli zabo nxa bephakathi abantwana labana baba yimthwalo ezibotshwe ezihlobeni bona besiba indleko futhi kuhulumende kukhweza ama-expenses ubuhle bakhona ukuthi nxa bephakathi abaphonga uhlala njengoba kade ngisitsho babe besenza i-rehabilitation siba-capacitator ngama-skills bona la abanceda ngokuphandle lanxa bengaba beyindleko kodwa thina njengesigaba seZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service silokujabula ukuthi abantu laba baphuma sebengabantu abaguqukileyo sebengabantu abalolwazi oluyanceda izigaba abavela kuzo kanye lelizwe njalo sebengabantu abakwanisa ukuzimela besapota izimuli zabo lezihlobo ezigabeni lapha abavela khona.
Asibonge baba Sibanda sixoxisana nje khonapha ngizwe ukubana ke iviki elizayo selamhla ka8 usafika mhla ka14 December kuyabe kuli family week ngiyazi ukuthi uZulu uthi engathanda ukuba kwazi ukuthi ke nguyini engabuye kuphethe ukubana atholeke ithuba lokubana angene ke azobona isihlobo sakhe ejele kumbe azobona ukuthi kabe uhamba njani khona ngale
limqotho lelo njengoba usuchile nje sile family week as Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service institutions kuma facilities ethu wonke elizweni i-family week leyi iqakathekile kakhulu indlela yokubambanisa izibotshwa lezihlobo sibanika thina ithuba elide kumbe ngathi isikhathi sokuthi bakwanise ukuxoxisana baplane nxa kulezinto abafuna ukuziplana ezemuli nokuba nje bejabule nje bendawonye kodwa ukuthi izihlobo zingene emajele nxa bezobona abathandekayo babo sifuna bebuye belezithupha yikho ukuthi bengene banelise ukubona izihlobo zabo ngokufanayo sikhangelela ukuthi bebuye belokudliwayo ngoba sivula ekuseni ama-visit ethu uqalisa ngo-9 ezephela ngo-3:30 ngezikhathi zemini siyabavumela ukuthi bebuye lokudla abazakudla lesihlobo sabo esiphakathi bexoxa hatshi ezidakayo okudakayo kunjengotshwala hayi utshwala sifuni okunye kuzabe kuthengiswa nje njengephakathi khonapho kunjengenyama besenza ibrayi lokunye nje lama-ice cream kodwa kumele kwaziwe nguZulu ukuthi konke ababuya lapho siyakuhlolisisa ukwenzela ukuthi ngoba abantu bomphakathi abanye basuka begange befuna ukuthi izihlobo zabo ziphume ngokungekho emthethweni kumbe bekholise ngokudakwa so siyabacela besiyazicela izihlobo ezizabuya ukuthi bengazami ukwenza izinto ezingekho emthethweni bebuye lokudla bebuye lezithupha zabo le mali enye ukuthenga okunye kuzabe kutholakala phakathi abaye bengabuyanga lakho bedle bekholise bejabule lesihlobo sabo okweviki yonke siyavumela umphakathi ukuthi ubuye insuku zonke iprogram yona le esithi family week iziphele bebuya betshona entilongweni ejele ndawonye lesihlobo sabo bejabula kodwa bayabe bengekho phakathi emaselini kuyabe kuyindawo kubonelanwa khona bengethuki kababuye bekhululekile.
Asibonge baba Sibanda Muli Zimbabwe bengixoxisana ke lesiphathamandla ke uAssistant Commissioner Aloyisi Sibanda esichasisela ukubana ke iparole nguyini ukuhamba njani Nthemba akade belembuzo echiyene seliphendulekile ukubana ke iparole ayibenefit ke isipotshwa sodwa lani ke lathi ke ethina ke njengomphakathi silakho ke okunengi esiza benefita kiko kusukela ke kwi-economic empowerment kanye ke lokwehlisa ke umthwalo akahulumende kuba nxa isipotshwa siphakathi khona phana ejele kunengi ke imali esebenzayo nxa abantu ke bebanengi abesejele ke khona phana waxoxisa khona phana esitshela ngendaba ke ye-family week ukubana ke lonke kumbe sonke asinxusiwe ukubana ke sihambe ke amajele achiyeneyo aseZimbabwe khona phana okufunekayo kuphela yikuthwala ke isithupha sakho upheke lo mphako ozahamba lawo siyabona ke isihlobo sakho umngani wakho lihambe ke liyekholisa enguthabileyo ke khona phana baba Sibanda ikubana i-visit hayi labe lingabonelani izikhaleni zefensini khona phana umuntu uyabumbona izabeke lilamahola amaningi okubana uboneke isihlobo sakho lixoxe liplane ngesilungu abanye bangathi early Christmas a gift angitsho kuzasala ke kufika ikhisimusi ye kodwa i-family week 5 days ubona ke isihlobo sakho konke akuyabe kuhlelekile Muli Zimbabwe siqhubekela phambili ke ngeZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service Parole and Reintegration Conference khona pha ke HICC eHarare okunengi sabe sukuletha khona phake emagagasini ke ekhasini leZimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service Facebook page kanye ke leZTN Facebook page sibonge hlalani ndawonye.
Mentioned the very rich number of psychologists which they have, which is 120, and is impressive at that stage. And they're responsible for mental health issues, and they also value social intervention through the continued interactions with churches, NGOs, and the community. He also focused on innovative implementation, citing the interventions to do with the implementation during COVID-19 times, where they had to reinvent themselves. He also spoke of behavioral change being key and highlighted that through sports and several cultural activities, parolees are prepared and assist accordingly. He mentioned that parole is a privilege and that change must be clear. He mentioned that these behavioral indicators are a risk assessment in itself. He mentioned also that certain crimes have no parole. He went on to speak of there being a compensation-based approach. If somebody has wronged someone, then they have to compensate before they can be considered. He went on to elaborate on the crimes which are not eligible for parole, mentioning murder, sexual crimes for those under 16, treasonous crimes, and crimes of terrorism, amongst others. He focused on a community readiness approach in consideration. Thereafter, he handed us over to our second speaker, who was Deputy Commissioner of Prisons, Maneko Correa Funge Francisco, who is the Director of Alternative Sentences and Social Reintegration. He largely focused on the technical aspects, taking us into the statistics, where he focused on enlightening us on the roles of the judge in the system, relationship building, social assistance, psychological support offered, and the importance and relevance of having a distinct system. He focused on the policymaking and policymaking readiness of their act, and that these should be adhered to the strict letter. Thereafter, he also mentioned the gender-related perspectives, not only giving statistics in that regard, but also mentioning that in terms of parolees, of those on parole, 1,893 were male and 89 were female. This also helps us to have a distinct insight as to the nature of the parole, the persons on parole. Women are My maths is bad, but that's under 10%, isn't it? 5%? Yeah. So these were the two presentations which we received on the Angolan perspective. It is important to read these two presentations together. One was giving a technical insight and one was giving the corporate governance foundation of the two. We then moved on to our third speaker of the day, who is Mr. E. Maravanyika. He's a lecturer in the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Bindura University of Science Education in Zimbabwe. And he gave a contextual analysis on the rehabilitation process and the parole process. This was a more critical conception of the overall system, as we have been hearing over the last 2 days. And he focused on making us think to say, what is the difference between the implementation and the actual legislation which we have? He spoke of a contextual analysis in rehabilitation as a politician's word. And this is a challenge as we go back to think about how our legislation actually speaks to our implementation. He did an examination of Zimbabwe's parole system, focusing on the scope of application of the parole process of foreign nationals. This is an issue which came up, I think, in the question and answer sections. We've been seeing this question coming up quite often, and it informs on how the various countries as represented can also think about how to handle cases with foreign nationals and how it differs from locals. He set a foundation in advancing restorative justice and strengthening the parole system. He spoke of decongestion not as a reason for parole. I anticipate a lot of questions in this regard, with his emphasis being to build more prisons, inform on sentence structure, and to decriminalize certain offenses. Again, these are issues to do with reforms in our law and to look at what is relevant in this year and going forward. He spoke of the threats to parole and the risks to the legitimacy of parole being related to being poorly supervised, political interference, and administrative inconsistency. He also touched on issues to do with ineligibility for parole, and these are issues which can be dealt with within the context of re-looking at our various crimes and sentencing. He spoke of the correctional strain, citing how Nelson Mandela was convicted to the Jikila Jele, something. I then got it with the Shona Dirika Jere, to remain in walls until the walls come in. And this was a prison perceived as never ending versus the more human-centered approach of compassion of parole. He sought that we strike a balance between the constitutional dictates and that of the public opinion in balancing the two concepts. He also spoke, as we go toward reform and as we go toward building frameworks, that we look into the institutional design and the remission versus parole tension. He went into standardized national training, as we were talking about having an African standard or a bare minimum in creating our own best practices. He spoke of standardized national training, minimum professional training, and emphasized the issue of independence to give legitimacy to our parole system, focusing on employment status and any other factors which contribute to the independence of parole boards. He touched on issues to do with effective supervision, which cut across the board in creating legitimacy, particularly when it comes to equal treatment of foreign nationals as well as locals. And he spoke of a new word that I haven't heard of, could you pronounce it for me? Bifurcation, injustice. And this forces us to think as we do our legal reforms to say, how are we going to create a balance in maintaining the right to equality, whether it's that of foreign nationals or that of locals? He highlighted a policy gap on how to enforce parole for nationals versus parole for locals, and offered alternative models pertaining to regional supervision and domestic completion models. He also went on to highlight the issue in terms of recommendations, which we can all take to our various countries as we go away after tomorrow, after Friday. He also spoke about the issue of best practices. When we are looking at legislative reforms, we learn from other jurisdictions, as we have been doing over the past 2 days. And he spoke of the application of what is specific to each country in the term of correct constitutional framing, with foundations of equality before the law and with operational differentiation. With that being said, he also moved on to the opportunity to build a distinctively restorative African parole model. And this speaks to where we are today in reforming our own systems and in enforcing the parole system. We need to make it speak to our own context, in a country-specific context, but guided by our African principles based on Ubuntu and based on what we hold dear as Africans. I will now open up the floor for any questions you may have, and we may discuss on the 3 presentations. I will take 4 questions at a time, and we will have 2 rounds of questions. Can I have any takers, questions for any of our 3 presenters? Could we have the mic?
So we are still at the Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services Parole and Reintegration Conference. The conversations have been enlightening. We have been going through this parole conference. We have learned the importance of parole already to prisoners, to communities, to society, to the prisons themselves. And just now we're going to be speaking to the Reverend Chaplain General in charge of ZPCS, and his name is Dr. Maurice Muchanyere. He is going just to tell us about his role within the Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Services. You are known as Senior Chaplain, you are known as Chaplain General. Maybe demystify that role. What do you do?
Thank you so much, and greetings this morning. Thank you for affording me this opportunity of having this conversation on
You're
this
welcome.
line. My role is a chaplain general. Currently now, I'm senior chaplain by title, but which is equal to chaplain general. The role of the senior chaplain or chaplain general in the Zimbabwe prisons and the correctional service have been entrusted by the Commissioner General and His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. I'm mandated to be in charge of religious, psychosocial, and moral programs and the issues that relates to inmates and officers. I am the responsible as an advisor to the Commissioner General as far as psychosocial and religious issues are concerned. I'm there as a bridge to all religious organizations for them to find a way of how they can be relevant to contribute towards rehabilitation for successful reintegration. I am there to ensure that chaplains are well coached. Chaplains continuously receive refresher training. There is a smooth running of chaplains programs across the 10 provinces, enlisting of chaplains and the recommendation of the growth of chaplains as per the request by the human capital to our section. So there are quite a number of programs that my role requires of me. I have not mentioned my role to the state, that we are there to offer services to the state of Zimbabwe, be it in any kind of a ministry. There's a funeral there, someone very close is not well, and there's need of counseling, and a number of state programs such as funerals and the developmental programs. We are requested to offer services on such, putting on the flag of our Republic of Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much. So we are in good hands as much as we are going to be speaking about the biblical principles here with regards to parole. We know that parole is about forgiveness, a bit of giving second chances. And we know from the word of God the story of the prodigal son. We know the story of post-transformation, that God is a God of second chances, third chances, and many chances. And maybe just with regards to the biblical principles, how does the Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service draw from those scriptures to shape the philosophies around second chances that we're speaking about at this conference?
Zimbabwe Prisons and the Correctional Service, not today, but dating back from the immemorial of its existence in this new Republic of Zimbabwe from the colonial time. Now, after independence, is there to offer citizens who have been found at the wrong side of the law, offering them a new page for them to reflect, a new page of enhancing them towards transformation, towards the change of behavior and the change of mind, to offer them an opportunity of empowerment through identification of their skills. So Zimbabwe Prisons and the Correctional Service approach resonates with the scripture. To say a person once is found at the wrong side of the law, it is not the end. Zimbabwe Prisons and the Correctional Service does not see the person as condemned, but it sees the doing or the actions, the behaviors as something that needs to be changed. And therefore, it is there to offer a big heart. It offers by restoring relative dignity to these inmates. They are not received as animals.
Right.
They are received as human beings.
Right.
And they are worthy respected. They are worthy being listened at. They are worthy being working with side by side. That's why you find Zimbabwe Prisons Correctional Service does not hold a gun when they have got inmates. They work as brothers. No gun, no dogs. It's instilling trust and the respect to say we are able to conversate, working together in trying to shape you to be a new person.
Right.
Yeah. So it resonates with the scripture.
All right. So the role of chaplains in reintegration. So as a senior chaplain, how do you see the spiritual rehabilitation of inmates influencing their readiness for parole, their readiness for reintegration back into the societies, especially in line with the biblical teaching? That is like if one is in Christ, they are a new creation. How do you see that?
Thank you so very much. I need to emphasize that any form of rehabilitation, it has to operate within the confines of the culture of that quantum. It has to operate within the confines of religion within that quantum. And a number of other important facets that we need to realize. And therefore, here in Zimbabwe, we all agree that Zimbabwe is a religious community.
Very much so.
Religious community, either in African traditional religion, more importantly, which is bigger, the Christian community, which dominates across. And we've got other religions that are there. And therefore, in order for the rehabilitation to be a success, if it's going to be undertaken isolating religion, it becomes a failure. It becomes a project that would not realize positive results. Because people are born religious, is what the other scholar has said, that we are born religious. But we are saying we have been cultured into a faith, and Christianity as a major source. And therefore, with the chaplains inside, it is there to rekindle what these inmates already value, which they valued before they committed the crime, as they were born, as they were raised within their societies. And therefore, the religion, faith, becomes something so close to the value of faith of every inmate. And therefore, when the chaplains are undertaking their roles, it makes these inmates to have an open mind, to accept and realize that here I've erred and I need a second chance, to realize that on my own I'm not able to change myself. I also need the ultimate power, the ultimate source, the creator to assist me. You see, I cannot change on my own. I also need my parents. I need my community. I need my friends. I need those around me. So therefore, chaplains, they play a fundamental role in ensuring that rehabilitation finds space. Let me say to you, how can you rehabilitate a person who is traumatized, stressed, a person who feels has been condemned and there's no acceptance? Now, the faith comes in.
Very much so.
It brings hope.
Indeed.
The faith comes in, rekindles the worthiness of the being, and say, in spite of what you have done, God still loves you. You are still worthy in the eyes of the Maker.
Indeed.
And you need to find your way. And therefore, this is the option that is brought by religion through chaplains. And a chaplain plays a very fundamental role. The inmate does not require issue of a skills program. Requires a person who is open to hear to his or her concern. That's where the chaplain comes in and say, I'm here for you. What are the issues? Once that person is heard, if he's going to enter into a class for skills development, whatever is going to be taught has a place in that person. Remember, a human being is not like a robot. He has feelings. He has the person who is hurt inside, and that requires spirituality. That's the importance which is provided by chaplains.
I actually have a testimonial for you.
Thank you.
Testimonial. Yesterday, we interviewed 3 inmates here on this platform, and one of them was very straight to say, we are being taught to pray.
Wow.
Yesterday, yesterday.
She
was saying we are being taught to pray, and we so much have hope because we pray. And that's a huge testimonial from an inmate. That means you are working. You and your team, you are working.
Thank you.
So we know that as much as they have hope for tomorrow, the society still has this stigma that they have. Just an earlier interview was showing that people out there are not ready to receive their relatives. Out there they are saying, we don't want murderers, we don't want rapists. So people out there are not ready to receive them. But you as ZPCS, you know that they have to go back to the communities. And now the issue of stigmatization is as the chaplain, as your office and your team, how are you going to be handling that to make sure that as they are released to communities, they are embraced, they are accepted, they are taken as part of the communities? This is really an itchy question because, like I'm saying from the previous interview, some of the many people in the communities are not ready to receive them. How are you going to be doing it, sir?
Thank you so very much. Let me start by saying, before I propose, I would want to give a clear picture of already what is in existence. Chaplains does not work in isolation. chaplains work with other sections in the Zimbabwe prisons and the correctional service. The first section is rehabilitation as a section. We also work with PRO or PR. We also work with security. And therefore, currently, through our PR, we are normally taken into some communities where those that are inside the bars came from, those who are about to be released. We have gone to Gokwe, to Bindura, to Guruwe, to Chipinge, and all over. And our going there, we normally take that inmate who is about to be released, say a year or 6 months about to be released. And within the 10 years has been serving, he has not have an opportunity of visiting the home where he came from. So we normally take them to their place. After our PR would have conducted the chief, the councillors, the church leaders, the business community, and the entire community to say, family, we are coming there. Are you ready? Once they show their readiness, we go there. The idea is to establish a situation where the inmate is able to interface with his or her community, interface with his family, so that where they ended, it's a point of contact to begin to re-engage. And this is where we prepare them to say, yes, in whatever he has done, he's ready to come home. Whatever he has done, he's ready to come and receive an apology on what he or she has done. So already these programs are done. Currently, as we speak, in the Zimbabwe prisons and the correctional service.
And how successful have they been? As a follow-up question, just for interest's sake, what you are doing already, how successful have they been?
Very successful. We find communities ready, families ready. At the times when we first go there on our own, some will be having a position of reservation, not ready, and we continue to engage them until they accept.
So it means the processes that you are taking to engage them, to make them understand that it's their relative and they have to ultimately come home, those processes are yielding results.
They are yielding 100% results. And on the final visit, that's where you'll find that the family gets into their real sense, and the inmate gets into his or her real sense when they come together. At times they shed tears, they break down, and they begin to relate to each other from the heart. And ourselves will be just like drivers, drivers, and allow them to flow that way, but ensuring that they don't endanger each other. Those programs are very, very effective. The second program is that we take inmates to churches. We request pastors and say, we would want to come and attend your service with our inmates.
Like churches in their communities?
In their communities, yeah.
Okay.
In their communities, we ask them, Lutheran, you are coming, would you wish to come on this date? Catholic on this date, Zion on this date, and apostolic churches or who are worship under the tree on this date. Once they confirm, we take them there for them also to listen at the teachings or the preaching. But the whole idea is to create a point of contact, is to create a point where the church should realize that in spite of the crime they've committed, they are still worthy human beings, worthy second chance, worthy love, worthy validation. So it's a preparation. By this, we see that most of the church members in their conversation of testimonies, they will say, we never realized the importance of meeting with an inmate. We never realized the importance of loving them. We never realized that these people, they are also human enough to accept the errors which they've done.
Yet they always read the Bible that speaks about forgiveness and that God is love and all that, but they do otherwise, or we do otherwise.
Because of some experience. You know, our perspective is shaped by society. It's shaped from different narratives. And the narrative that once one has done something wrong, the human judgment
They're
is to
condemned
condemn forever. A failure to realize that even ourselves, we are not perfect, but only that the law has not catch up with us. We are neither perfect.
So when we pray and we say, forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, what will we be doing? That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But just from this conversation, you can actually tell that we go to church, we speak about what needs to be done, we don't do it.
The challenge of the church is that currently we tend to be too religious and they fail to be too practical and to be too real. Yeah, we are so much good at cramming and speaking verses and memorizing verses, memorizing those prayers
Yet
and those rituals. We are not doers of the word. Yeah, we don't understand what it means in a practical and the real sense
And to be doing the
to
word.
be doing the word.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
So now the stigmatization, you are not finding some elements of stigmatization on the inmates as you are releasing them to the society?
Yes.
If you are getting them, how are you dealing with them?
Yeah, some society still needs the help in that area. I can't say it's 100% okay. It's not. It's not. It's an ongoing process. The process which does not only encompass chaplains to deal with, but collectively.
Indeed.
Collectively
Very
to
much
say, already what we are doing to those who are watching this may be helped by this.
Indeed.
and shed off this stigma. The Zimbabwe prisons, the Correctional Service, through the PR, should now reinvigorate their programs of championing to go out in communities and speak to communities about the life of these inmates. And that it entails having those inmates as part and parcel of our going out to meet with society. So that it's not the PR speaking, it is the inmate speaking to these communities. I think it will be part of that project that would help to advance helping society dealing with the stigma. But it's a process, it's not an event.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And how have you been measuring somebody's genuine transformation before they are released? We know that we now understand that from the previous conversations, it's a whole lot of people, a whole lot of processes that people go through to assess somebody, an inmate, before they are released. But just from the reverend perspective, how do you see some of the indicators that you can tell us that somebody has changed?
As we stay with them, we are able to relate with them from the point of the heart, as well with a conscious mind. Remember that it's not all about faith. We need to employ reason. Reason should also be a base of making sure that this person indeed
Has changed.
has changed. So we also employ issue of reason. We also employ experience of those that we once dealt with, and when they are released, what were the results, and therefore what are the areas that we may need to rebuild on these ones whom we have.
As they say, experience is the best teacher.
Yeah. So, but we are so much confident that the dynamic, well-balanced nutrient rehabilitation program that Zimbabwe Prisons and Correctional Service is offering is proving positive towards a transformation of these inmates. And ourselves, once we are with them, we are able to see their behavior, not during the service, but outside the service. We also follow them up as they go for different duties in the field, just watching to see how they are behaving. And see if there are some gaps, then we create an opportunity of sitting down with them and talking to this individual to realize that this is the shortfall I need to build. But remember, even whilst we see that all things are okay on this inmate, remember that they are going in a world with its own systems.
Indeed.
May have been transformed. But once he experiences rejection, and once he doesn't experience no support from the community, a person can go back relapse from the earlier position. So it's not only that because by this he has not been well groomed for transformation, he may have achieved that. But because where he's going, the environment there is not very supportive. A person is bound to really get back to who he was before.
And we don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
So as we are closing this conversation, Doc, there is a concept which you are supposed to be telling the nation of Zimbabwe, the story of reconciliation, the story of forgiveness, the story of them embracing their relatives from the biblical point of view. I was in prison and you did not visit me. You saw me hungry and you did not feed me. You want to really hammer this to our viewers, to Zimbabwe, the importance of forgiveness, the importance of loving one another, the importance of, even if it's not their relative, it's part of the inmate is part of the community. Those community members, the importance of supporting that person, even financial support, emotional support, giving them money to start up businesses. Speak about all that as they are ready to go back to the communities. Zimbabwe has to know the importance of embracing these relatives of ours.
Thank you so very much. My message to the nation of Zimbabwe and the whole world: without peace, we are not able to progress on the development. Peace is fundamental. And once we don't contribute towards peace, it means whatever we are going to work for is not sustainable. And therefore, peace is very important. And in this regard, the church, the business community, and individuals are part and parcel of contributing towards the proper rehabilitation for successful reintegration of these inmates and ex-offenders. And therefore, as the Bible has already been read, that we have been mandated to find ourselves relevant in working with those behind bars, those incarcerated. This is not like a conference agenda or something that the church needs to think about and say, should we go or should we not go? Because the Bible is saying we should not neglect those that are behind bars. And therefore, the church and the religious organizations are called to form consistent desk program ministry of working with those behind bars. And in this case, working with Zimbabwe prisons and correctional service. And this working, it starts at the point of engaging Zimbabwe prisons and correctional service, and they find out how can we be relevant to your work. And the Zimbabwe Prisons is there to give you the education and to share with you what exactly is needed for us to have an effective, robust rehabilitation programs. We have moved from the point where individuals can just think of what they want to do, but we need to go and find out what is needed. And therefore, I call upon the community, churches, and the business community. Number one, your presence is important. Your decision in working with Zimbabwe prisons and the correctional service is important. There are a number of areas. We've got the area of skills development. We've got the area of sports. We've got areas of construction projects, which would help to empower skills on these inmates. We've got quite a vast of areas. Those that are doing professional courses, they need educational support for them to see themselves through their education. So there are a robust of programs where each and everyone has a place and a space of contributing towards this work that we are doing. The church, let us cease preaching on the pulpit about love. Preachers are many. Let's go down and exercise love. Let's stop theologizing love. Let's go and live love. Let's go and act love. Let's be seen ourselves giving the positive message that those that are condemned by society, they still have got a place in our Lord and Savior Jesus. And you know what? With the mantra of our President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, he talks of extending a hand even to your enemies, where he says, we are enemies of none. And therefore, in the Christian basis, you should also be an enemy of none and support the work of rehabilitation for successful reintegration. Speaking in tongues without living in love is useless. Let's interpret these tongues into life, into work, which can be consumed and say, this is what it is. Spending time in prayer, yes, whilst it's important, but it's not more important than doing what you are praying for and let it be seen. Thank you so very much.
This was Chaplain General. I love what you have said. Chaplain General Muchanyere, he has spoken about love and love. Churches, pastors, various churches, partnership. He is saying, come to us, come to ZPCS. We will lead you to the prisons that needs to be visited. You just come in your groups as various churches. You come to ZPCS, you see Chaplain General and his team, and they will direct you to be doing the word. Be the doers of the word. He has said it well. It's up to us now, pastors, to action this word. Thank you very much, Dr. Maurice Muchanyere, Senior Chaplain with ZPCS.
Thank you so very much. It was an honor having you, and thank you so very much, the Zimbabwean population and those beyond. Let's cease to talk about love. Let's cease to religiousize love. Let's live love. Let's act love. Let's turn our tongues into love that can be handled in our hands and say, this is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark achievement represents a significant leap forward in aligning our nation's correctional practices with international human rights standards, the principles of rehabilitative justice, and the imperative of human dignity. The introduction of parole system in Zimbabwe is a powerful statement and testament to a progressive belief in redemption, restorative justice, and the potential for positive change within every individual. We recognize that a well-administered parole system serves profound human rights objectives. It promotes the fundamental right to hope and social integration, mitigates the negative effects of overcrowding in detention facilities, and support the rehabilitation of individuals by facilitating their supervised transition back into society as law-abiding citizens. This not only benefits the parolees and their families, but ultimately enhances public safety and strengthens our social fabric. ZHRC is a key stakeholder in the protection and promotion of human rights in Zimbabwe for all persons, including those deprived of liberty. We commend the Correctional Service for the considerable effort, planning, and dedication that has brought this system to fruition. We acknowledge the complex legal, administrative, and social considerations that have been diligently addressed. The ZHRC looks forward to constructive collaboration and dialogue as this system is implemented in Zimbabwe. We stand ready to offer our partnership in monitoring, capacity building, and sharing best practices to ensure that the parole system is applied fairly, transparently, and without discrimination, upholding the rights of all affected individuals at every stage. Once again, we offer our heartfelt congratulations to ZPCS on this momentous occasion for justice, rehabilitation, and human rights in Zimbabwe. We thank you as the HRC. Thank you very much. So that was our congratulatory statement to ZPCS for this momentous occasion. Okay, now coming to my presentation. As I said, this is a new program in Zimbabwe. We will take from what is being said here, but obviously we will also make our presentation, what we envisage that maybe that will be our role as the National Human Rights Institution. So my presentation is structured in the following manner. I'm going to look at the mandate of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission and its strategic position in terms of human rights in Zimbabwe. I'm going also to talk about the human rights advantages of a well-designed parole system. As DCG has already said, that maybe a well-designed parole system ensures that maybe all the other rights of our detained inmates are met. Then I will also look at I will also look at the critical monitoring role of the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, what we are going to do in the parole system. Then I will conclude and make strategic recommendations. I'm not sure whether this thing is working. If it's not working, maybe it's working. That's fine. So that's fine. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so for most of us to understand maybe the role that the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission is going to play, I think it will be prudent that I also give you a background about the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission before then I go into what we are going, our role in the parole system. So as a start, the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission is one of the 5 independent commissions supporting democracy, established by Chapter 12 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. We have 5 independent commissions, of course, the other.
We are joined by Commissioner Petrosomo Sachinova, Officer Commanding Manicaland Province, and she's going to share insights from this conference and how she's going to be implementing what she has learned at her province. Hi, madam, how are you?
I'm well, thank you very much for having me.
So good to speak to a lady commanding a province.
Thank you.
All right, so we have had insights here, conversations here about this parole and reintegration conference. The first question maybe would be, what operational shifts do you think you will be able to implement in Manicaland province to strengthen this parole processes that you have started already?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. The first and foremost thing is probably to unlearn some of the issues that we were used to do, not only as Manicaland province, but as a service in terms of parole. Mm-hmm. So it's a mind shift game to say this is the way that we are going. Parole is no longer a preserve of the few inmates, but it's now extended to almost all inmates as long as they qualify in the categories that are set out. So the first thing to me is to preach that gospel and make sure that we understand it so that we are able to then implement maybe most of the things that we have learned here, to say everyone is now a key player in the parole system and also in the rehabilitation and reintegration of inmates. It's no longer a departmental issue to say it's for rehabilitation officers only, but it's for all correctional officers. So operationally, that's what I think would be my takeaway, to say it's now the race is for all of us. It's not only for rehabilitation officers.
Wow, that's quite key. I loved the part of unlearning certain issues that you were doing over the years for you to come to really start on a clean slate. And so that you'll be able to implement this going forward. Maybe how are you going to be cascading that information to your officers? I'm seeing that you command the whole Manicaland province. This information that you have learned and everything that you are saying here, how are you going to cascade that information?
In Manicaland province, just like any other province, there is a hierarchy of power. And we have the management team, mostly that is based at the province, and also we have officers in charge at various prisons and satellite prisons. So it is those people that are key to make them understand what we are doing here and how we want to progress as a province in implementing the things that we are learning here. So it's key that we make them understand, and when we make them understand, they are then able to take the information down to the least junior officer to understand where we are going and what we want to achieve at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we also know that it is important that these parolees get to be accepted in communities. For them not to re-offend, and for them to maintain the good behavior that you would have assessed and said they deserve to go on parole. So what are those programs that you're going to be implementing just to make sure that as they are going back to the communities, they are reintegrated, they are accepted? Maybe who are you going to be working with to make sure that that happens?
All right, the community plays an integral part when we talk of rehabilitation and reintegration of offenders. The concept that we have used in Manicaland, even with our stakeholders, that is the community, the traditional leaders, and also the faith-based organization and civil society, is that the rehabilitation and reintegration of an offender, we usually make it, we use, what do you call it, the system of a three-legged pot.
Okay.
To say it takes three parties. You know the three-legged pot that we use in the rural areas?
Yes, Bodo.
Bodo, exactly. So if you're going to look at Bodo, it has 3 feet. And each feet is important so that what we're cooking is not burnt or overcooked or undercooked. So the same concept, we apply it in Manicaland to say the first foot is the inmate, the second foot is the officer, and the third foot is the community. So the community is equally important in this process, as is the inmate, as is the officer. So that's the concept that we use. We are grateful that in Manicaland already we have good rapport and working relations with the community. These all the groups that I've mentioned: traditional leaders, community leaders, the business community. We have good working relations, and it will not take us much effort to then cascade that information to them to say, this is the way that we are now going. This is how we want you to assist, so that the parole system that we want to achieve is properly cooked in the Bodorelu, and we're able to benefit all of us as a community after these people are released from prison. Prison does not own people. The people belong to the community. And the community...
That statement, you love it so much. The team from ZPCS.
All right.
But ZPCS doesn't own people.
We don't have people.
These people belong to the community,
They
the
do.
communities have to live with their people.
Yes, they have to play a role. What we have done is just to try and correct those people, and for the corrections to be complete and successful, that same community should also come on board.
Very much so. I agree. So we know that, like you said initially, your team, you and your team, you have to unlearn certain things for you to be able to implement this. Maybe let's speak of how you are going to be training the officers, training the whole team to be able to unlearn this and to be able to assess parolees, supervise parolees, and just making sure that they don't default. So what kind of training are you going to be giving them? Is there going to be an overall training, or what you will then be doing in Manicaland as a region?
As mentioned earlier, the training will be in stages so that it has an impact. If we do a one concept to say it will cover for everyone, we'll get it wrong. We want the managers to understand, the officers in charge to understand and appreciate, and we can have a conference for them. And of course, we'll include people from our national headquarters to come and assist us in that regard. If we are done with those ones, then we now go to the operational staff, which is on the ground. And those are very key in ensuring that what we want to achieve, we're able to achieve it. So it will be in stages. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. So as we are leaving the podium, as you're closing this conversation, just let's have your take on this whole conversation, this parole and reintegration conference, from what your takeaways from other countries. We understand there were presentations from other countries, and what you have learned already. Do you believe this is really going to make an impact to ZPCS and to the nation of Zimbabwe?
Thank you. Maybe it's time that we also appreciate the Commissioner General and his team for organizing this important conference and realizing that what we are trying to do, we are not reinventing the wheel. There are some people, some nations, some correctional services in the region that have done it. And the Commissioner General, in his wisdom, then realized that it's easier to learn from somebody who has walked the path.
Indeed.
And he has invited all those nations to then come and share their experiences. You know, there is nothing as interesting as hearing a concept being explained by somebody who's already doing it.
Agreed.
It ceases to become an academic conference, but it becomes a practical thing.
Agreed.
That we say we can go back and implement. We can benefit from it. They have told us the benefits of having a parole system, that it will save us costs, that it will help us in the decongestion, that it will enhance the reintegration, the rehabilitation and reintegration of inmates. And they have also told us of the challenges that sometimes you do not have 100%, pass, but you always have those people defaulting. But the rates of defaulting from the countries that have shared, you know that they are lower
than the rates of success.
Exactly. So we are saying this thing is doable. And we are there to support the Commissioner General to ensure that one day he is also invited by these countries to say Zimbabwe has something to offer. They have done it and they have succeeded. We want him one day at those platforms, those African platforms of heads of corrections, talking about the Zimbabwean experience.
Indeed.
And we are going to support him to ensure that there is success in this regard. It's actually the standard now. Yes, it's now standard to say parole is the way to go. You cannot continue to ignore what other countries are doing.
Indeed.
You have to adopt, go along, best practices. You do that and you register success.
Thank you very much. That was Commissioner Petrosomo Sachinova, officer commanding Manicaland province. What I love is the energy around making this work. When you have officers commanding provinces ready to implement and ready to roll, it means that the implementation of this process is going to be a success. Well done to Commissioner General and the team for making this happen.
Thank you very much.
Improves prison condition. A well-designed parole system will improve prison conditions. One of the chronic issues that the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission has flagged from time to time in our prison monitoring reports is crowding. Most of the times our prisons are crowded.